Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lohmeier, I'm going to cover kind of the topics that you and I talked about in my office a couple days ago. First of all, I like to ask nominees, maybe I'll ask all of you. Billy Mitchell was testifying in front of the, I think it was Senate Armed Services Committee, the father of the U.S. Air Force in the mid-1930s. He was talking about a certain place in the world. He called it the most strategic place on the planet, and whoever controlled that place would control the world. Mr. Lohmeier, I'll start with you as a Air Force guy. You know where Billy Mitchell was talking about?
I do, Senator.
What place was he talking about?
It was the state of Alaska.
Great. Can I get that confirmation from the two other witnesses?
Yes, Senator, you can.
Most strategic place in
Alaska.
the world? Great, good. You guys are starting out really well here. Thank you. And our adversaries also see it as quite strategic. This is a depiction of the Russian and Chinese incursions into our ADIS and into our EEZ in the last 2.5 years. I'm going to flip that over and show you the numbers. It's like several. That's in the last 2.5 years. Pretty remarkable. Doesn't make a lot of news in the lower 48. In our airspace, northern airspace. And the green ones are depictions of joint strategic bomber task forces and joint Russia-Chinese naval incursions. So they're doing joint ops in the northern Pacific and Alaska, okay? Just a couple, 2 weeks ago. So, Mr. Lohmeier, you're a former F-15 pilot. Can you put the other slide up? When you do an intercept mission, say from Alaska, how tough are those missions? Our guys do them all the time. Every one of those incursions, we intercepted them with F-22s, F-16s, F-35s. How tough of a mission if you're flying from J-Bear or Eielson Air Force Base out to the ADIS here? Is that a tough mission?
Yeah, Senator, the seat in the F-15 and even in our newest fighters isn't comfortable when you're spending hours in there hitting the tanker multiple times.
So you're hitting a tanker probably 4 or 5 times just to go do the intercept, correct? And sometimes in the middle of the night in February, you're doing an intercept up there, Chuck Chisi. If you're in a single engine F-16 intercepting Russian Bear bombers in the middle of the night in February, and you got to punch out, you lose an engine, how likely are you going to survive in that?
Senator, those are incredibly high-risk missions, and we've got great men and women who put their necks on the line every day doing just exactly what you've described, and especially if you're having to punch out in that environment, you're not in good position.
No. So what the NORTHCOM commander and the Indo-PACOM commander and even the CNO of the Navy has said, we need more infrastructure up here to support these missions, because they keep saying, the Russians and Chinese are going to keep doing this even more. So would you work with me in this committee on those goals? We're looking at ADAC as a Navy base with 2 8,000-foot airstrips. We're looking at a hangar up at Utiavik, that's Barrow, to be able to station search and rescue operations, or Galena, that was a former Air Force base. Would you work with me in this committee on looking at that kind of infrastructure that can support the men and women in Alaska who are literally on the front lines of great power competition doing these kind of missions? You know, just a couple weeks ago, hard missions. Our military up in Alaska do such a great job, but can you support me in this committee and working on those infrastructure projects that the 2 combatant commanders in this region, Indo-PACOM and NORTHCOM, have testified that they need?
Yes, Senator, I share your interest in this area. This is, in many respects, a cornerstone of our projection of power into the Indo-Pacific theater, and you have my commitment to work very closely with you on what the Secretary and I are trying to do from a basing perspective and infrastructure perspective in the Department of the Air Force, if confirmed.
Let me ask one final question. The Secretary in his the Secretary nominee in his testimony also committed to me, the Air Force is committed to me in this committee for about 8 or 9 years now to get more tankers up at Eielson. The the last Secretary of the Air Force did, the previous Secretary of the Air Force did, Democrats, Republicans. Can you commit to me, as the Secretary just did, to work to get the 4 KC-135s that they've been promising, these brave men and women who need tanking capacity to go do these intercepts, real-world missions? Can you work with me and commit to me to getting those 4 KC-135s up to Eielson?
Maybe a compliment.
Senator, I'll work, if confirmed, I commit to you that I will work to ensure that the commitments that Dr. Mink has made are fulfilled.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.